it is so fun to see because, like, forever, like we've been in this circle for a long time now, right? And you don't see that sort of pushback from anyone of note, right?
yeah.
It's like, it's edgy anarchists and libertarians doing that.
Yeah. And
right?
then to see a major firearms rights organization
Uh-huh.
that is just like posting just the most like fuck memes.
Yeah.
Like
You see like Phoenix Ammunition, they're doing it also.
oh yeah.
Well, not on Newsom, but they're doing it like with Biden and stuff, which is fucking fantastic. And the LPNH, New Hampshire Libertarian Party, Joe Biden said something about 3 years ago today, our democracy, blah 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 blah. And they posted a comment. It was a poll. Would the government be better off if politicians actually feared for their life? And it was like 96% yes.
Based as hell.
Very.
That is the spirit of the Second Amendment right there.
Uh-huh.
That is its spirit, to make politicians terrified of their constituents all the time.
Yes. Yes. What is it? Washington. Was it Washington that said firearms are liberty's teeth or something along those lines? It might be a made up one, but I like it.
Somebody said something to that general. One of the founding fathers did say something to that general effect in like a letter.
Yeah. Biden compared himself to Washington also as a true patriot and revolutionary. You didn't see it?
I did not.
He gave a speech on January 6th at God. Valley Forge. All right, that's not scheduled, but we have to bring that up now.
Oh my goodness. Oh. So the Spicy Unguided tour anniversary, yes. He gives a speech in support of the federal government, yes. At a place of rebellion.
Yes. Oh, sorry. He did it on the 5th, on Friday, not on
the day before.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. I'm just going to read it. So today, the topic of my speech today. Today, the topic of my speech today is deadly serious, and I think it needs to be made at the onset of this campaign. In the winter of 1777, it was harsh and cold as the Continental Army marched to Valley Forge. General George Washington knew he faced the most daunting of tasks: to fight and win a war against the most powerful empire in existence in the world at the time. His mission was clear: liberty, not conquest; freedom, not domination; national independence, not individual glory. America made a vow: never again would we bow down to a king. What did some of the founders want George Washington to be?
Well, the founders didn't necessarily want him to be king. There was a plot by certain elements within the Continental Army to try and make him king.
Yes.
Had they offered it to him, he probably would have said absolutely not, because that's ridiculous. There was also a significant number of the founding fathers who wanted to make the second son of the Prussian king the king of America, and in fact offered it to him. He was like, "That's very nice, but no." No. And initially they did call Washington Your Excellency.
Yes.
Whether or not he wanted to be called Your Excellency is kind of up in the air. There's a lot of sources that say he requested it. There's sources that say that his top adjutants basically were the ones who suggested it, but for whatever reason, he did get called Your Excellency until probably about like 1780.
Yes.
Which makes sense. I mean, remember, these guys are British. So
yeah, very, very few of them of the founders were actually born in the colonies.
Well, I mean, like, so like Washington's also really funny because don't forget that Washington did not come from some everyman background. He was the second son, so until his little brother, his older brother died, he didn't inherit the family fortune. He was an aristocrat.
Yeah.
He married because he knew he wasn't going to make any money on his own. He married into wealth when he married Martha.
Yeah, he married a rich widow.
Yeah, he married a rich widow, and everyone knew why he was marrying her. Like, that wasn't even like a secret. Like, that was what you did. You married rich widows. And then he got richer because his brother died of, I think, malaria.
Yeah.
A few years later, and so he inherited all of that as well. Jefferson also aristocratic, very much aristocratic. In fact, most of the founding fathers were aristocrats. In one form or another. I mean, not maybe necessarily members of the peerage, obviously, but they were not far off.
Yeah.
So
okay, hold on. We got it. Hold on. That's just I'm reading ahead in the speech.
Also, though, I do want to point out like how hilarious it is that he's like, you know, goes on and on about how it was about freedom and it wasn't about conquest and blah blah blah. And it's like, first of all, Washington was all about conquest.
Hold on.
Second of all,
hold that, because there's a line coming up. Hold that.
Oh God.
Months ahead would be incredibly difficult. But George Washington knew something in his bones, something about the spirit of his troops he was leading. Something about this. It says something about the soul of a nation struggling to be reborn. In his
that they were all about to quit because he hadn't paid them or fed them in months.
Yeah. In his general order, he predicted, and I quote, with one heart and one mind, with fortitude and with patience, they would overcome every difficulty the troops he was leading, and they did. They did. The army that lacked blankets and food, clothes and shoes. The army who marched left bloody bare footprints in the snow. The ragtag army made up of ordinary people. Hold it. Try to hold it. Take a deep breath. Their mission, George Washington declared, was nothing less than a sacred cause. That was the phrase he used, a sacred cause. Freedom, liberty, democracy, American democracy.
Absolutely not. That democracy had nothing to do with it. In fact, every single one of them had said multiple times that democracy was a horrid idea and that democracy seldom worked. And when they did, they never lasted very long and were usually taken over by tyrants, which is why when they finish with the Constitution and Franklin walks out and he gets asked, well, what is it to be, a democracy or a republic? He says a republic if you can keep it.
Yeah. Democracy, American democracy. I just visited the grounds of Valley Forge. I've been there a number of times since I was a Boy Scout years ago. You know, it's the very site that I think every American should visit because it tells a story of pain and suffering and true patriotism it took to make America. Today, we gather in the new year, some 246 years later, just one day before January 6th, a day forever seared in our memory because it was on that day that we nearly lost America. Lost it all.
Cut to that woman going, it's a revolution.
Today, we're here to answer the most important of questions. Is democracy still America's sacred cause?
It literally never was. Ever.
Hold on. This is not rhetorical, academic, or hypothetical. Whether democracy is still America's sacred cause is the most urgent question of our time.
We have literally never been a democracy.
And that's what the 2024 election is all about. Yeah.
Sorry, I threw up in my mouth a little bit there.
The choice is clear. Donald Trump's campaign is about him, not America, not you.
Your campaign is also not about America, you senile sumbitch.
Donald Trump's campaign is obsessed with the past, not the future. He's willing to sacrifice our democracy, put himself in power.
I'm sorry, but he just did a speech about the past, and then it's like his campaign is obsessed with the past. What did you just talk about?
Yes, our campaign is different from me and Kamala. Our campaign is about America. It's about you. It's about every age and background that occupy this country.
But if you don't vote for him, you ain't black.
It's about the future we're going to continue to build together, and our campaign is about preserving and strengthening our American democracy.
I mean, I can believe that, since America isn't supposed to be a democracy.
Hold on.
They're obsessed with the past, says the man who cannot remember anything that has happened since 20 years ago.
3 years ago tomorrow, we saw with our own eyes the violent mob storm the U.S. Capitol. It was almost in disbelief as you first turn on the television. For the first time in our history, insurrectionists had come to stop the peaceful transfer of power in America. First time.
No, not even remotely close. Not even slight. The Civil War? I love when they're like, never before have insurrectionists been so close to the Capitol. I mean, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand why Democrats want to try and pretend that the Civil War didn't happen, right? It's because they were on the southern side of things and maintained that southern side of things afterwards, right? So I get that. Okay, I get why they're trying to pretend and propagandize that. But I feel like it's a significant moment in American history that maybe we need to stop pretending didn't exist. Like,
all right,
there's like battlefield memorials and things, and like
he's literally at one that tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power.
Well, I was going to say too, and this is the funny thing, is like all of these people that keep talking about how, oh, they were patriots and everything else. They called themselves patriots, but they were not patriots of the country to which they belonged as citizens.
Mm-hmm.
They were British subjects, right? They were British subjects. America did not exist. They were British subjects. They were rebels.
Yes.
They were insurrectionists.
Yes.
They were terrorists.
Yes.
That is what they were. Okay. And you guys keep pretending that somehow America had been invaded by the British, and that's not the thing. America was part of the British Empire actively. Like, the redcoats didn't just show up on boats and start unloading, right? It wasn't a big land invasion. They were stationed here and had been for more than 150 years. Like, this is not.
Yes.
Benjamin Franklin's son was the royal governor of fucking Pennsylvania.
Royal governor.
And in fact, maintained being a royalist all the way through. Like, he fled back to England at the end of the war.
Like, they talk about the turncoats, right? The people that didn't fight with America. They were loyalists. They were patriots.
That's not what a turncoat was. Somebody who had literally had a blue coat that had a red liner that they would flip around depending on what side they were on at the moment, which is pretty clever. Let's be honest.
We call those libertarians.
I mean, yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
But the idea, and it's constantly, as somebody who's a student of history, it is constantly a thing that drives me insane, is that these people on both sides, right, Republicans and Democrats, want to constantly invoke the founding fathers and constantly invoke the American Revolution as if anyone involved in the American Revolution would not have shot at them with cannons.
Yes.
Like you are all literally the kinds of people that they were absolutely horrified at the possibility of in the future for this country. Like
Yes.
you are literally the people that they warned us about.
Yes. George Washington's farewell speech literally warned about creating political parties.
Yep. He said the day
Mhm.
that a two-party system happens is the day that America is lost.
Yes. So,
And within less than 5 years after that, I think there was a two-party system.
yeah. For the first time in history, insurrectionists, blah, 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 smashing windows, shattering doors, and attacking the police. Outside, gallows were erected as the MAGA crowd chanted, "Hang Mike Pence." They did. They did. Inside, they.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't feel like that's proving his point.
Yes.
Like
That's not.
Like that man was actively the vice president at the time.
Yeah. Inside, they hunted for Speaker Pelosi. The House was chanting as they marched through and smashed windows. "Where's Nancy?" Over 140 officers were injured. Jill and I attended the funeral of a police officer who died as a result of the events that day.
He didn't. He died as a result of a fucking heart attack, you lying sack of shit.
Yes. He didn't. He did not attend the funeral of Ashley Babbitt, though. I'm just saying. Because of Donald Trump's lies. They died because those lies brought a mob to Washington. He promised it would be wild, and it was. He told the crowd to, quote, "fight like hell," and all hell was unleashed. Remember when they went
all hell?
Remember when they went through the ropes and not like over the ropes?
And were being led by Capitol Police?
Hell is very organized.
I mean, a tour of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. does seem like something hell would do.
Yes.
Because it just never ends. You're just, the end is the beginning again. And you just have one of those overly upbeat tour guides. And we're walking, and we're walking. No, that would be hell. Yeah, I can see that being hell.
Yeah, take a number.
Well, yeah, don't forget the in Supernatural when Crowley organizes hell, where it's just this giant queue. It's just a giant queue, like, and then you keep moving forward.
DMV, yeah.
Yeah, and when you get to the very front, all of a sudden you're magically at the back again.
Yes.
And everyone's like, that is diabolical.
Hell was unleashed. He promised he would write them, everything they did. He would be side by side with them. Then, as usual, he left the dirty work to others. He retreated to the White House. As America was attacked from within, Donald Trump watched the TV in a private small dining room off the Oval Office. The entire nation watched in horror. The whole world watched in disbelief, and Trump did nothing. Members of his family, or members of his staff, members of his family, Republican leaders who were under attack at that very moment, pled with him. Act. Call off the mob. Imagine if he had gone out and said stop. He did. He did.
First of all, he did. Second of all, I noticed the Freudian there.
He told
my Oval Office.
Yes.
Also, I want to point out that what else was he going to do but have, I don't know, Capitol Police shoot at the protesters? And hey, look at that. That's exactly what happened.
Wait. Okay. It was among the worst derelictions of duty by a president in American history.
You mean like trading American military hardware to Iran for hostages?
Importing cocaine, crack cocaine into American urban cities.
Gosh, it's almost like those two things are really. Oh wait, they are.
Same person,
and literally the same operation, known as Iran-Contra. Kids, look it up.
Yeah.
Actually, there is a really, really good documentary series out there called Fiasco.
Yeah.
That goes through, and it's a podcast. So if you just want to listen to the podcast, go listen to it. It's also called Fiasco. But if you listen or if you watch the show, you get some visuals and some additional information. But it's specifically about Iran Contra. If you want a really detailed step by step, blow by blow of exactly how everything happened, check that out. Highly recommend it.
And it's not even the first time it happened.
Oh, it's not even close.
Right? Laos, Air America program.
Air America was like Air America is like one of those like modern CIA's wet dreams that they could ever do something like that again.
Yes.
Because they couldn't. But it's, or I don't know. There's just so many. Like if you Google the words presidential and scandal, I'm sure you'll find some other derelictions of duty that have come up.
Among the worst derelictions of duty by President in American history, an attempt to overturn a free and fair election by force and violence. Hold on. A record 81 million people voted for my candidacy and to end his presidency. Trump lost the popular vote by 7 million. Do we lose a popular vote in this country?
Oh, well, don't forget that way back in 2000, the Democrats started going, popular vote, right?
Yes.
When Mr. I invented the internet was really pissed off that he lost. Because again, kids, we're not a democracy. We are a representative republic.
Yes. And we don't use popular vote.
Because we're not a democracy, and that's what a democracy would use.
Electoral college. Just saying. And only in like 13 or 15 states are electors actually held punishable by actual punishment to the votes.
You know why that is? Do you know why that is? It's these three words. They're very important. I realize we keep forgetting that they exist in the United States, but it's checks and balances.
Is that the store where you buy those fancy checks with pictures on the background?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial. I don't know what a check is.
Let's see. Blah blah blah. Skip down just a little bit. But in desperation and weakness, Trump and his MAGA followers went after election officials who ensured your power as a citizen would be heard.
Okay, did they invade the White or the Capitol building, or did they go after election officials? Because I'm starting to get confused here.
Hold on. These public servants had their lives forever upended by attacks and death threats for simply doing their jobs.
Make politicians afraid again.
Yes.
This is, and there was a time in this country, right, where that was like a totally normal thing. Okay, so like, don't forget that, like, as Lincoln is trying to bribe, cajole, and all sorts of illegal, shady activity his way to getting the 16th Amendment passed, right? As he's doing this, he is encountering a lot of pushback from a lot of the Southern Democrat, senators and representatives that he's trying to get onto his side. And a lot of them are like, my constituents will literally hang me if I vote for this.
Yep,
and they're not kidding.
Yes. Yes. Skipping down again. Well, no, so we know how his mind works now. He had one act left, one desperate act available to him: the violence of January the 6th. Since that day, the violence of January the 6th. Since that day, more than 1,200 people have been charged with assault in the Capitol. Nearly 900 of them have been convicted or pled guilty. Collectively to date, they have been sentenced to more than 840 years in prison.
You know what's important about this, though, and why I celebrate that? You know why? Because here's the thing. Okay. A whole bunch of those people who showed up
Hmm.
and went on the spicy unguided tour, because that's all it was. And it was only semi unguided, right? It was self paced, but semi guided. A whole bunch of those people were under the impression that radical change
Hmm.
can be brought about with minimal risk to themselves.
Yes.
And that was an attitude leading up to that moment that pervaded even our circles, right?
Yes.
That pervaded even our circles. This idea, this attitude that radical change can occur without risk to yourself, without risk to the people who are doing the changing. And what January 6th, and why I am actually like, hell yes, keep sentencing them, keep making it very, very clear, because the
It's a
purest
yeah,
gold,
it's a radicalization move.
yeah, the purest gold comes out of the hottest
Hmm.
fires, right?
Yep.
That's not technically correct because you can burn anyway, but either way, that's a proverb, and we're gonna go with it, even though it's scientifically inaccurate. The point is that
It's on par with the speech we're reading.
yeah, I mean it, yeah, it is. But the thing is like what that taught people, right? And what the consequences of that have taught people. And now they're going after people who are simply outside the Capitol
Yes,
in
yes,
places they were
that's the
legally
new one.
allowed to be.
That's the new one now is they want to go after the people that were outside, that were just standing there, that were doing nothing, that were just simply at the protest.
Yeah, and that's so with that being the case, what's happening now, what they've done is they have shown that if you want to be a revolutionary, like they've really, really demonstrated that you can't half-ass this. If you
Yes.
want to be a revolutionary, you have to
Mhm.
be prepared
Yes.
to do what the founding fathers did,
Mhm.
which is pledge their lives, liberties, and personal fortunes to the
Yeah.
cause.
That's what
And so,
yeah, I had a small conversation. It was only 8 or 10 comments back and forth in a group chat on Telegram, where somebody had mentioned there was some article shared about Biden, and somebody said, I bet money he's gonna win again." And I said, "I hope he does, because people are not hungry enough yet."
yep, that's the reality, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the reality. We see that, we talk about that, right, in the Christian church all the time, how the
Mhm.
strongest believers are in China, right, where they're constantly
Yes.
persecuted, where they're constantly subject to their
Mhm.
little house churches being raided and
Mhm.
them being sent off to prisons for re-education and everything, because the church is viewed as counter-revolutionary and all these things. So
Mhm.
we talk about that, like, and that's the reality, right? When your beliefs and what you want to stand for, you have no illusions about what standing for those beliefs is going to do to you. Like there's no hope for, well, maybe I'll just, get a slap on the wrist. Well, maybe I'll just get talked to. When you know for a fact that they will come at you hard, then there's no reason to hold back. You
Yes.
are either all in or you're done and you're going to
Mhm.
leave.
Yeah.
And true believers are real hard to turn into double agents.
Yes. Um, okay. Just give me like 6 or 7 paragraphs. I know you're gonna have a lot to say, and I have to get through this. In trying to rewrite the facts of January 6th, Trump was trying to steal history the same way he tried to steal the election. But we know the truth because we saw it with our own eyes. So it wasn't a story being told. It was on television repeatedly. We saw it with our own eyes. Trump's mob wasn't a peaceful protest. It was a violent assault.
They
They were
didn't
in
set fire
hold up.
to enough houses and cars to be a peaceful protest.
They were it was a violent but mostly guided tour protest.
Violent but mostly guided tour.
They were insurrectionists, not patriots. They weren't there to uphold the Constitution. They were there to destroy the Constitution. Trump won't do what an American president must do. He must he refuses to denounce political violence. So hear me clearly. I'll say what Donald Trump won't. Political violence is never, ever acceptable in the United States political system. Never, never, never. It has no place in democracy. None. You can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American.
He said this at
You can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American.
He said this at
Valley Forge.
Valley Forge.
Yes. At Valley Forge.
I don't even need to say anything.
Yes.
He said this with a straight face, earnestly, at Valley fucking Forge.
Yes. Yes. He says political violence is never ever acceptable in the United States political system. Never, never, never. It has no place in democracy. None. You can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American.
You know what he needs to do next is he needs to go to the banks of the Delaware River and talk about how it's not the American way to bayonet people in their beds. While they're defenseless on Christmas Eve.
Go to Boston Harbor.
Go to Boston Harbor and go, it's not the American way to destroy
private property.
That's literally the American way. That is what we have always fucking been about since before the
Declaration of Independence was written.
Long before. In the 1750s, you start seeing how political violence is very definitely the American way. And it's not like it wasn't the English way either. The history of England is nothing but political violence.
Political violence and trafficking spices that they don't use.
2,000 years of political violence. That's the history of England. Since before the Romans showed up, it got worse after they were there. But
yes,
the entire history of the world is the history of political violence. Violence happens on a large scale for 3 reasons, right? 3 and only 3. Politics, religion, and resources. That's it. There is no other reason for wars to happen. And a war, by definition, is political violence. The entire point of a war is to violently force your opinions on others. That's it. There's no other reason for a war to happen.
Yeah.
That is political violence. Like, that's the history of humanity.
Yeah.
Is political violence. So if you're like, oh, well, the country that was founded by a bunch of rebel terrorists through extreme violence and doing things like stabbing mercenaries in their beds as they lay there drunk on Christmas morning. That country that was founded that way, we've never had anything to do with political violence.
All right, hold on.
Okay, so apparently we only like random violence? Is that what?
As long as it's still mostly peaceful.
Yeah, again, they just didn't set fire to enough random buildings and cars.
That's what it was, yes. Okay, so skipping down some more. I placed my hand on our family Bible, and I swore an oath on the very steps of the Capitol just 14 days after the attack on January the 6th. Hold on. As I looked out over the capital city, whose streets were lined with National Guard to prevent another attack, I saw an American that had been pushed to the brink, an America that had been pushed to the brink. But I felt enormous pride, not in winning. I felt enormous pride in America because American democracy had been tested. American democracy had held together.
Okay, first of all, in what way was American democracy tested? Because first of all, American democracy doesn't exist, and second of all, the violence is not democracy. Okay. So first of all, but also I have to point out here, the reason I laugh so hard is he goes from violence is wrong to putting his hand on a Bible. Have you read the Old Testament? Are you unfamiliar?
I'm just saying, between David and Saul alone, there's
this, yeah. I mean, let's not forget that the reason, speaking of Saul, the entire reason why Saul winds up dead, right, is because he is supposed to wipe out every man, woman, and child in a civilization, fails to do so, and then a member of that civilization kills him, or at least almost does.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or no, it's he falls on his own sword, right? He loses the battle. He falls on his own sword
rather than be caught. Yeah.
Right. And so then a member of that civilization that he had failed to wipe out finds him and finishes him off.
Yeah. Removes his
instead of rescuing him. Like,
yep. All right. Okay. So skipping down, I just want to read this little section. And then we can move on. America, as we begin this election year, we must be clear. Democracy is on the ballot. Your freedom is on the ballot. Yes, we'll be voting on many issues, on the freedom to vote and have your vote counted, on the freedom of choice, the freedom to have a fair shot, the freedom from fear, and we'll debate and disagree. Without democracy, no progress is possible. Think about it. The alternative to democracy is dictatorship, the rule of one, not the rule of we, the people. That's what the soldiers of Valley Forge understood.
No, actually. Because whether or not the United States was even going to be a representative republic or anything where they actually kind of had a say had not been determined yet in 1777.
Yes. But if democracy falls, we'll lose that freedom. We'll lose the power of we, the people, to shape our destiny.
Ah, yes. Remember, out of many, one. We're stronger together. And in that spirit, here's our new symbol, which is a whole bundle of small, fragile sticks bound together. And at the top, this nice little axe.
We can't say that word on YouTube. So, but there's it just goes on and on. And he just starts rambling at that point. But that was a good laugh. We had to bring that up.
It's just, oh,
so
now
that we're 38 minutes in, hello. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Monk Friends Roundtable Discussion. Bipcot.
Yeah, quick reminder about the Bipcot no government license,
which allows for the use of the reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That's BIPCOT.org. We're also covered under Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969. I'll repeat that. Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, which says that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here in Anarchy Monk Friends Roundtable Discussion is entirely hypothetical.
This entire podcast is for entertainment only. Nothing is to be taken seriously. No one would take us seriously anyway in their right mind. And if you're a federal prosecutor considering taking us seriously, what is wrong with you? No one else does. How lame is your life? Well, I suppose you're a federal prosecutor. It's probably pretty.
All right, let's jump into this one, and then we can jump into the Rand Paul. Week 17 of NFL is happening right now, right? Miami and Buffalo are playing. So 17 weeks. It's about a third of a year, right? There's 52 weeks. 17 times 3 is 51.
About half of a human pregnancy.
Yes. So 17 weeks. America has borrowed $1 trillion since the start of football season.
A trillion with a T.
Yes. I mean,
Buckshot, if you're using this to improve yourself, boy, are you beyond hope, bro.
let's see. A few days after the national debt officially surpassed a new threshold, 34 trillion, according to the announcement made Wednesday morning by the Treasury Department. In other words, don't feel bad about how much money you've probably lost on sports betting and fantasy leagues this year. The federal government has run up $1 trillion tab in less time, and the next $1 trillion threshold isn't far off.
Good
Woo!
God.
Yes, 18 weeks. Yes, I know. 17 games over 18 weeks. Shut up.
But I mean, this is so, like, just consider that though. Like, imagine if you had lost so much money in sports betting since the beginning of the NFL season that you were down $1 trillion.
Yes. Yes. Which we say just so that we can bring up Ron Paul, or sorry, not Ron, Rand Paul's annual Festivus report for 2023. He says, "Happy Festivus. How is 2023 already coming to close when it's been Twitter now X blah blah blah." Okay. Let's see. We thought the UFOs were actually Chinese spy balloons. Barbie battled Oppenheimer at the box office, and a missing F-35 jet flew over 60 miles without a pilot. It's safe to say that some of the big changes have occurred since last year's Festivus report.
The F-35 remains one of my favorite headlines of 2023
Yep.
with the, so we lost a jet. Okay, where is it? Is it on the ground or like still in the sky? One of the two.
Yes.
What?
Last Festivus, we lamented over the national debt reaching an astronomical 30 trillion. That means in a year it has gone up $4 trillion. Shockingly, in one short year later, the career politicians and bureaucrats of Washington have managed to approach 34 trillion in debt without so much as a second thought. Who's to blame for the crushing level of debt? Everybody. This year, members of both parties in Congress voted to raise the debt ceiling, which empowered the government to borrow an unlimited amount of money until 2024. As Congress spends to reward its favored industries and pet projects, the American taxpayers are forced to pay the price through record high inflation and crippling interest rates. What's the interest rate currently?
I haven't looked this week. Last I heard, it was like right around 7%.
Yeah, lovely. The same big spenders teamed up yet again to continue spending America's hard-earned money to foreign countries and funding endless wars, all while ignoring our porous southern border. And our mountain of debt will continue to pile even higher. The Congressional Budget Office predicts we will add an average of $2 trillion in debt annually for the next decade. The U.S. government will add over $5 billion of debt every single day for the next 10 years. We borrow over $200 million every hour. We borrow $3 million every minute, and we borrow $60,000 every second. This year, I'm highlighting a whopping $900 billion of waste, including a New Hampshire grant to study Russian
National Institute of Health.
Yeah, sorry, National. What did I say? New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Yeah, it's National Institute of Health.
Okay, a National Institute of Health grant to study Russian cats walking on a treadmill. Barbie's use of proof of ID to receive COVID Paycheck Protection Program funds. $6 million to promote tourism in Egypt. $200 million to struggling artists like Post Malone, Chris Brown, and Lil Wayne,
who are clearly struggling very hard.
Yeah.
They talk about it all the time in their songs, how little money they have.
Yes. So let's just roll through this. You want to?
I love this list. This is one of my favorite times of year because of this list. So
you want to just read the first one?
Yeah, sure. So the Barbie doll photo used to get COVID PPP funds. The faces of Barbie's dream world played a role in the fiscal nightmare that was COVID-19 spending. Government spending was already out of control when Congress approved $800 billion in COVID Paycheck Protection Program funds. As federal agencies hustled to get the funds out quickly, it came as no surprise when swindlers rushed to line up for their cut of the COVID cash. Some of us saw the writing on the wall and predicted that shutting down our economy and printing more money to pay the nation to stay home from work would be a fiscal disaster. But using Barbie's face as proof of identity to steal taxpayer dollars was not on my COVID waste bingo card. And you have to see the fucking photos to fully appreciate the ridiculousness of this. My God. What was supposed to be an AI system to verify proof of identity quickly exposed the stupidity of the program. The verification system did not catch the images of dolls uploaded by fraudsters. Somehow, the Small Business Administration carelessly approved the applicant from Toyland and sent out improper COVID-19 PPP payments.
Yes. Moving on. What's known to South Carolina's as Monkey Island is Dr. Fauci's 3,000 monkey colony raised on a state-owned island. The National Institute of Health signed $33.2 million contract with a local business to house, feed, and care for these monkeys before they're shipped to research labs around the country. The federal government established the colony in the late 1970s, though the multi-million-dollar contract to care for the monkeys changed hands a few times. National Institute of Health has also paid millions to a large pharmaceutical company to maintain Dr. Fauci's Monkey Island. It is literally an island off the coast of South Carolina that is
populated by monkeys.
Reese monkeys in particular. And they are raised and bred with the intention of becoming lab test subjects.
Which is really sad, the poor things.
I mean, yeah, Reese monkeys, the beagles. Oh, those beagles
Rhesus monkeys. Keep in mind that like Rhesus monkeys and like certain species of macaque and things are our closest genetic relatives. They're about as human gets without actually being human. And we just torture them just cause. Isn't that great? And I'm not a bleeding heart fucking PETA person, but it's pretty horrific.
All right.
I got a problem with that.
$6 million to boost Egyptian tourism.
Egyptian tourism, not American tourism. No, we spent $6 million to boost tourism to a country that kind of hates us.
Yeah. Don't forget that the U.S. has spent over $100 million on Egyptian tourism overall in total.
Oh,
there's that. This one. God. Okay. Yeah.
Walking.
Go ahead. I can't read that with a straight face.
USDA's cutting edge research, walking hot dogs. When you walk outside in the summer, you get hot. When Labrador retrievers walk outside in the summer, they also get hot. Getting hot while walking outside in the heat might be obvious to you, but the United States Department of Agriculture allocated cutting edge research funding to support a summer study that walked 16 dogs of 2 different colors and measured their rectal temperatures. That's right. What temperature is the butthole of the dog? Researchers found the Labrador's fur color did not affect their body temperatures after a hot summer's walk. That's it. That's the taxpayer-funded cutting-edge study.
Keep going.
The Agricultural Research Service at the USDA, which funded the study at Southern Illinois University, gets $1.7 billion a year from Congress, but it's unknown how much the hot dog study cost the taxpayer. Perhaps taxpayers should have Congress put USDA on a tighter fiscal leash. It was to figure out whether or not Golden Labs or Black Labs wound up with hotter buttholes going for a walk in the summer. And it found that the answer is they have the exact same temperature buttholes.
Hey, if you don't want to pay to measure the temperature of dogs' buttholes, you just need to vote harder. Democracy is at stake, Andrew. American democracy. That's what they fought for at Valley Forge.
Literally anyone who has ever owned a dog could have told you that it was going to be entirely irrelevant.
Yes. Yes. I
love the Department of Homeland Security training employees to be their authentic and best selves, as if anyone needs that.
Yes. As
Have
part
you
of
met DHS employees?
Yes, as part of a 5-year diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility strategic plan. Yeah. Yes, Jack. Yes. The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race.
I mean, I wasn't actually going to say that one out loud, but all right.
Vote harder for colder dog beeholes.
That's what Greta Thunberg needs to start promoting is, do you not care about how hot your dog's butthole is?
And just shares pictures of overheated dog buttholes.
Yeah.
Oh
my God. See, they had, so the CISA employees gathered, the cyber security infrastructure security agency, CISA. They had a workshop focused on effective strategies to build and sustain psychological safety that allows individuals to show up to work as their authentic and best selves.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Russian cat on a treadmill.
After having their brain stems snipped, Russian cats were forced to walk on a treadmill in Russian labs. This was all thanks to U.S. taxpayers footing the bill. Russian scientists, funded with your money, posted videos of their catwalk studies, which showed shaved cats hooked up to electrodes and struggling to walk on a treadmill. These catwalks were part of a $2.7 million National Institute of Health grant given to the researchers at Georgia Institute of Technology in the U.S. The institute then sub-granted the funds to researchers in St. Petersburg, Russia, a fact first uncovered by White Coast Waste Project in 2021. Yeah.
If I cut the brains out of cats, can they still walk on treadmills? Inquiring minds want to know.
I am terrified of zombie cats. I'm just saying. This is like snipping the vocal cords of beagles, so the scientists don't have to hear them whining as they're getting fucking eaten by mites.
U.S. officials testified that another $38 million in COVID payments, an average of $83,000 each, went to people Uncle Sam knew were dead. It was probably payments for their votes. Let's be honest. Figures came from the Special Task Force Congress authorized track COVID payments from the federal government. Specifically, $10 million was paid to individuals who were already dead on the date someone applied for funding. The government doled out $1.3 million of your money to 30 individuals who were dead for at least a year. And this wasn't the first time that Uncle Sam tracked taxpayer funds to the mailboxes of the dead. By April 30th, 2020, the U.S. Treasury's Inspector General knew that $1.4 billion was sent out to more than 1 million Americans who filed taxes in previous years and then died, yet still received checks intended as COVID stimulus payments. Not all of the funds were recovered, as dead people are notoriously bad about paying up.
Yes. Dog beeholes and zombie cats. Yes, we are on the cutting edge.
We are, yes.
Hold on.
This is the important shit, yes. Man.
We all know the Department of Defense make purchases for military operations. One would imagine weapons, ammunition, and tanks to be among the purchased items. But according to the USDA spending.gov, they aren't the kind of tanks you're thinking of. The DoD paid $8,395 for a lobster tank, purchased from a restaurant equipment company in Springfield, Virginia. They paid $8,400 for a lobster tank, the DoD.
A lobster tank that one could, in fact, construct for about $2,500 fairly easily. Well, that was almost certainly for the Air Force, but
let's see.
I love this one. I know. Let's store your vehicle engine outside, said no auto mechanic ever. But that's just where the U.S. Army officials, quote, improperly stored 80 gas turbine engines, valued at a total of $89.16 million. Each of the $1.1 million engines, which are used for Black Hawk helicopters as well as M1 Abrams tanks, were improperly stored for 3 years. Apparently, the code to properly store the engines was missing upon their arrival, so instead of putting engines in a covered shed, they left them outside. At $1 million an engine, no one called and asked for a storage code.
Oh, but wait.
But wait, there's more.
How much does
If you
something
thought that was bad.
Yeah, how much does something have to be worth for the U.S. Army to store it properly? Evidently, more than $12.6 million. This time, the Department of Defense Inspector General found the U.S. Army, quote, improperly stored 135 hydraulic transmissions valued at $12.6 million outside. Despite the requirement to be stored in a shed, over 1,000 officials told the IG they simply don't have room in the shed.
Okay, can I just point out, I get smoked endlessly because I let something get wet once. But these guys can leave $12.6 million worth of transmissions just sitting outside, and we go, oops.
Oh, there's more than that, right? The third and final example, until next year, of the Department of Defense ruining expensive military equipment revolves around military tanks and tank threads. The DoD Inspector General cataloged, quote, 117,534 vehicular track shoes valued at $68.29 million left outside in open air. They were not covered or stored properly at all. The IG said over 1,000 military officials did not follow the military's own guidance on storage. The Bradley, Stryker, and Abrams using soldiers, along with their taxpayers that fund the vehicles, deserve better. At least we know they'll be in a real military vehicle and not lobster tanks.
Well, I mean, okay, so first of all, I will point out that the military historically is not known for their studious maintenance of stored equipment. Second of all,
I read on to the next one.
Okay. Second of all, can you imagine, you know how you could have solved all of this is you just need a single CSM. Just one to go around and look at this and just knife hand the fuck out of people, and it will all change.
Where are we going to store these 1,100 transmissions? Oh my God, where are we going to store these 1,100 tarps? You're not going to believe it. I have an idea.
I may have a solution, gentlemen. Well, no. So the funny thing about the transmissions is that they put them in LLRCs, which are long life reusable containers, which don't really keep out humidity or anything.
Yeah.
They're just kind of these two metal halves, and one's bigger than the other one, and they do have a little rubber seal around them, but it's not great. And they just kind of latch down. There's I think 6 latches that latch down, and they're handy, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't put a transmission in one and then leave it outside
for 3 years.
For 3 years.
Oh,
I mean, I might put a transmission in one, a transmission that has been coated in oil, right? Absolutely coated in oil. I would leave sitting in it in a shed. Not outside.
Yeah.
Because that box ain't that good.
Yeah. All right, read the next two. I want the one after that one.
The real fake.
Yes.
Oh God. All right. Oh, you're gonna make me say the word. You're gonna make me say the D word, and I don't want to say the D word.
Oh.
DHS's graphic novel about it's about
Say it with me. Disinformation.
yes, information. Yes, that. The Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, the Department of Homeland Security, agency that made itself the arbiter of misinformation during the COVID pandemic, created a series of graphic novels called the Resilience series. Isn't that exciting? To help educate the public about misinformation. There is, however, nothing comical.
Not one, but two graphic novels about disinformation.
There's nothing comical about wasting taxpayer money to justify censorship of constitutionally protected free speech. The first in the series was called Real Fake and featured a foreign operation created to spread misinformation about a U.S. senator and impact U.S. elections. Gosh, that sounds unbiased and independent. Misinformation is not a joke, but it is especially not funny when bureaucrats in the federal government are determining what is and is not considered misinformation, all under the guise of protecting Americans.
Come on. American democracy is at stake, Andrew. Democracy, American democracy.
Don't fret, precious, I'm here. Step away from the window. If you haven't heard that song, it's by Perfect Circle, and you should go listen to it. It's called Counting Bodies Like Sheep to the Rhythm of the War Drum.
Yes. Yes, Jack. It is all fake and gay. Yes.
Yes. DC Comics won't be adding these taxpayer-funded comic books from America's cyber defense agency season to their repertoire anytime soon, using the tired old trope that try it again. Disinformation campaigns are a direct threat to our democracy. Oh God, it gets worse at the end.
Hold on. There's another quote. There's another direct quote that is just as bad.
CISA spent time and money telling people what to believe about COVID vaccines and helping to suppress debate and discussion about the new vaccine technology and its potential side effects. A shock, I'm sure, to all of the listeners of this show.
Yes.
CISA's latest graphic novel even dips into the conspiracy theory that Russia created a
okay, cool. Disinformation pandemic. That's a quote. That's a quote. Quote, disinformation pandemic, end quote.
That's around COVID. In fact, few did more to cause mistrust than the U.S. government and its cover-up experts like Dr. Fauci, who we now know pushed disinformation on mask and vaccine efficacy while obfuscating our government's involvement with dangerous gain-of-function coronavirus research, which directly resulted in the escape of the virus. Anyway, the First Amendment is kryptonite for our government censors if you're willing to defend it.
Yes. Yes.
That was my own little edit to that.
Democracy is at stake, Andrew. We need graphic novels.
I mean, I, as a student of history, I know that all of the greatest revolutions in world history were in fact created by comic book characters. And to that effect, I submit that Captain America, the Civil War Saga, should be required reading for everyone because it includes the quote from Captain America, Steve Rogers, Captain America, that it doesn't matter what anyone says, your job is to plant yourself like a tree and say, no, you move.
Yes.
I think everyone should read that.
Yes. National Institute of Health funded research at the University of Mississippi's Medical Center gave lab monkeys meth in the morning and tracked the monkeys' sleep habitats through implanted wire leads running, quote, subcutaneously from the head decision to the eye orbit, exiting out the eye orbit from underneath the upper eyelid.
What's the headline for this one?
NIH's meth head monkeys.
Nope.
Not touching that one. Not touching that one.
Nope.
The study was funded by portions of 4 NIH grants and brought to the attention by the White Coast Waste Project. Over 100,000 Americans die of meth overdose each year. As these dangerous drugs pour across our open borders, our nation's first responders and families across the country struggle every day to fight this drug epidemic. And yet NIH approved a portion of approximately $12 million in NIH grants to test the sleep habits of monkeys given meth in the morning. Yes.
Gentlemen, it seems that when monkeys do methamphetamine, they have trouble sleeping.
Thanks
for $1 billion.
It's not the last monkey study.
God.
It's not the last monkey study. You want that one?
The pot of cash?
Yes.
I kind of feel like this is rehashing things that everybody knows, but every year the Internal Revenue Service reroutes incoming tax payments to a fund set aside for United States presidential campaigns.
Yes.
The account is funded.
Yes. By the way, yes, that is accurate. The federal government pays a portion of federal presidential campaigns.
They're called campaign discretionary funds. Look them up.
Yep.
The account is funded by a $3 IRS tax return checkbox. Since 2008, no major political party's candidate for president has accepted the funds. As of November 1st, 2023, $400.6 million sat unused in the presidential election campaign fund account. So why do we provide unused, unnecessarily welfare for politicians and their presidential campaigns? Well, either way, it's probably time to scrap the wasteful presidential election campaign checkoff program.
Okay. 2 laboratory monkeys at the University of... This starts off like a joke.
Monkey casino. Casino.
It starts off like a joke. 2 laboratory monkeys at the University of Minnesota face high stakes and their access to drinking water hung in the balance, contingent upon their willingness to embrace what researchers termed gambling.
Okay, so can I just point out that these researchers looked at the possible grant programs out there and went, I'm going to make my own scientific study with monkeys and blackjack.
Well, we got monkeys and blackjack and meth. We're just missing hookers.
I mean, we do know that like macaques regularly engage.
They did shave the cats on the treadmill, so we have shaved pussy. Andrew was drinking when I said that.
Really, right in front of my beer.
Okay. The study to study the region of the brain that impacts risk-taking choices. Parts of the monkeys' skulls were removed and their brains were injected with tracers and monitored as they gambled between 2 different options presented to them on 2 screens. Test subjects were given a low-risk, low-reward choice and a high-risk, high-reward choice, with the monkeys choosing risk over reward more than 70% of the time. The study, funded by the NIH National Institute of Mental Health, $1.9 million grant, and the NIH National Institute of Drug Abuse, a $1.8 million grant, gambled that this monkey study was a good use of taxpayer funds.
Wait, are you trying to tell me that monkeys may in fact not have great critical thinking skills?
What?
What?
All right, I want this one, and then you can have the next one.
Okay.
When local concerters were forced to shut down during the pandemic, distributing financial relief was left to the Small Business Administration, that's the SBA. The Shuttered Venue Operators Grant program was supposed to provide lifeline to small entertainment businesses nationwide. Sadly, but not surprisingly, SBA failed to deliver. Business Insider identified dozens of famous music music artists and their touring companies that received over $200 million through the program. So-called, quote, small business owners such as Post Malone, Lil Wayne, Chris Brown, and Smashing Pumpkins received up to $10 million each. Even Nickelback received $2 million, while some may claim that these funds were used to keep supporting staffs. Artists were not required to do so and have no way of determining how these blank checks were used.
If anything should start an insurrection, the federal government paid Nickelback $2 million.
Oh, to keep them afloat, quote unquote, to keep them afloat.
To keep them still performing, to make them still a band, okay?
Yes.
Why is this happening? And now these fucking Zoomers, man, these fucking Zoomers are discovering Nickelback and going, well, they don't seem so bad. And I'm like, you wouldn't think they are, would you, Swifty?
Don't get me started.
Really? Dude, you're going to stick me with another one of these? You
yes.
Son of a bitch.
You're welcome.
Studying COVID-19 misinformation on social media in Black and rural communities using $3.8 million in NIH funds. Throughout the pandemic, the National Institutes of Health, an agency that suppressed its own involvement in funding the dangerous coronavirus research that led to the lab escape, labeled any COVID dissent as misinformation. NIH is now specifically targeting the COVID opinions of Black and rural communities. A $3.8 million University of Pennsylvania study is investigating, quote, COVID-19 misinformation exposure on social media among Black and rural communities, end quote, to help, quote, identify and combat misinformation, end quote. In this study, researchers examined social media posts with a specific lens on race and location. When the study began in September 2022, much of what the government and social media called COVID misinformation relating to masks, vaccine efficacy, and the virus's origins is what is simply called known scientific fact this year. Will truth complicate 5-year COVID misinformation studies?
Okay. We have it. We've come full circle now.
What the fuck is this sentence?
Do you want this one too?
What is this sentence? Yeah, I kind of. What is? There's a lot to unpack here, so I just
read the headline. Just read the headline of this paragraph.
Dr. Fauci's $477,121 transgender monkey study. Just gonna let that sink in. What is that sentence?
Ooh.
Under Dr. Fauci, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease was back in the business of wasting your money and torturing animals, two of its favorite things. This time, instead of tormenting puppies with ravenous sandflies, a Florida lab is trying to feminize male monkeys. That's right, NIAID is using $477,121 of your tax dollars to fund the forced feminization of male rhesus macaques. Utilizing taxpayer funds from NIAID, a Florida lab set out to examine what would happen if female hormones were given to male monkeys. After receiving the hormones, biopsies from the forced feminized male monkeys were tested to see if they're more susceptible to HIV. I'm just going to let that one sit there a minute. We're not going to talk about it, but you guys can draw some more lines. Critics note that monkeys themselves are not susceptible to HIV and argue injecting the male monkeys with female hormones is unlikely to yield relevant information or in any possible way help humans. The lab worked to make male lab monkeys transgender to address social injustices suffered by transgender persons, such as transgender women individuals, who were assigned a male set at birth but expressed their gender along a female spectrum. There is so much going on there that I am not allowed to talk about.
Nope.
in any kind of YouTube and or possibly monitored setting.
Yes. Can you imagine having a line item on your personal checkbook for improper payments? This year, the Biden administration sent out a whopping 236 billion in inaccurate checks, otherwise known as, quote, improper payments. Federal law defines the term as payments made by the government to the wrong person in the wrong amount or for the wrong reason. Yeah.
Hey, at least the whoopsies were down slightly from the 247 billion in 2022.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, it's 247 last year, 236 in 2023. Yes.
Some of the most alarming ones, though, are like 50 billion to Medicaid, 43 billion to pandemic unemployment assistance.
Yes.
Just what the fuck?
22 billion to the EITC, that's the earned income tax credit. 4 billion to a payment protection program loan. VA, yeah, 1.4. Yeah, I'm sure they did really well.
$1.4 billion to the VA purchasing long-term services and supports.
Yes.
Which is, probably like, oh, you get a nurse who's going to hit you with a stick once a day. That's their long-term services.
Yes. In 2014, the late Senator Tom Corbin, Republican in Oklahoma, published his annual waste book exposing, among other waste, $171,000 National Science Foundation study, Making Monkeys Gamble. As I have highlighted, 9 years later, the NIH is still actively studying the gambling choices of monkeys.
We really need to know if a Monkey Island casino in South Carolina is a viable business option. Okay, this is a very important thing.
Hey, I'm saying,
still not sure.
I'm the Libertarian South Carolina Libertarian Party. I'm just saying, there's an opportunity for you.
I mean, as far as I can tell, it sounds like monkeys are not great at gambling, which means the house should win even more. I would wager, in fact, that monkeys are unable to count cards. So if you do blackjack, you're safe. Not if you go up against cephalopods, though. That's probably not going to go well. But the monkeys.
Oh, the monkey raised you three poop turds. You gonna call or fold?
I mean,
oh goodness.
The monkey brought you his favorite stick.
We got meth monkeys, transgender monkeys, gambling monkeys.
Dude, so it's basically what's happening is that they're trying to create an island monkey Las Vegas in South Carolina. That's what I'm gathering here.
Monkey Vegas. All right. Okay. So that's the name of this episode.
Monkey Vegas.
Monkey Vegas.
Oh man. It's so that thank you to Rand Paul for doing that every year and sending it out. It is a fantastic piece of information.
Oh man, I haven't laughed that hard in a while. I haven't laughed that hard all year.
Yeah. This is also it seems like we haven't done an episode since last year.
Let's get this one over with before, because we're starting to run a little slow on time because we talked about Joe Biden.
Ugh.
Yeah, let's get this one before.
Joe Biden's slow, so he makes us slow.
Yeah. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. In June of 2022, law enforcement arrived at a modest home on East Calvert Street in South Bend, Indiana. They threw dozens of tear gas grenades into the house, launched flashbangs through the front door, smashed windows, destroyed the security cameras, punched holes in the walls, ripped a panel and a fan from the bathroom wall and ceiling, ransacked and tossed furniture, snatched curtains down, broke a mirror and various storage containers. The tear gas bombs left openings in the walls, floors, and ceiling. Shattered glass lay strewn across the interior, and a litany of personal belongings from clothing, bed, and electronics to childhood drawing and family photos were ruined. Police had their sights set on a man named John Parnell Thomas, then a fugitive, who is now behind bars. But law enforcement didn't apprehend Thomas at the residence on East Covert Street, as he did not own the home, did not have any relationship with its owners, and had never been there.
Quality police work, guys. Real bang up job.
The actual owner, Amy Hadley, was not a suspect in law enforcement's investigation. She was, in some sense, punished anyway, as the government left her to pick up the tab after officers dismantled and wrecked much of her home. A faulty investigation led police to Hadley's house. An officer with St. Joseph County attempted to locate Thomas via Facebook, concluding erroneously that he was accessing social media from the IP address tied to the Hadley residence. He was not. And
even if he was, that doesn't mean he was there. Anyone who knows anything about Wi-Fi and how it works, he could easily have been war driving outside. Somebody may have slipped him the password. Maybe it was really easy to guess password. Like, come on.
Yes. On June 10, 2022, upon surrounding the house, police ordered those inside to exit. Hadley's son, Noah, who was 15 years old at the time, was the only one home, and he came out with his hands up as instructed. Police immediately conceded on the body camera footage that he was not who they were looking for. They placed him in double handcuffs, put him in a caged squad car, and took him to the police station anyway.
Knowing that he was not the person that they had any right to arrest.
A neighbor called Hadley to let her know something dire appeared to be happening outside her home, prompting her to return to the residence. She told law enforcement that Thomas was not inside and that her security cameras, which would be destroyed soon after, would have alerted her if a stranger had forced his way in. A South Bend SWAT team, along with the backup from St. Joseph Police Department, proceeded forthwith. Over 30 officers were dispatched to Hadley's home. The result forced Hadley and her son to sleep in their car for several nights as the toxic fumes lingered, while her daughter, Kayla, slept elsewhere until the space was safe to live in again. Hadley, who was employed as a medical assistant, does not dispute that police had a valid warrant and a right to search the property. What she does dispute, however, is that the government can leave her to shoulder the financial burden of their mistake. After contacting the South Bend Police Department, the St. Joseph County Police Department, St. Joseph County, she received a mixture of demerals and radio silence, according to the lawsuit recently filed by in the St. Joseph County Circuit Court.
A year and a half. They still have paid her nothing.
A year and a half post-raid, the agencies have paid her nothing. Her home insurance helped her in part, but declined to pay the full amount, which totaled at least $16,000 in damage per her suit, leaving her thousands of dollars in the hole. Yes.
And this isn't the right. And the next part. It's not the first time the government has destroyed innocent people's property and left them to just pick up the pieces entirely on their own, both literally and figuratively. Hadley's experience once again requires that anyone who supports police start answering the following: when law enforcement wrecks someone's house or business in pursuit of public safety, who should bear that cost?
Yeah. We don't need to keep going. There's enough there.
How fucking, I mean, think about how insane this is, right? Like, and the level of Stockholm syndrome that this woman has. Okay.
Yes.
Because they had a valid warrant. No, they did not. They had a warrant predicated on faulty information, which makes it invalid under the law.
Yeah. And even let's pretend that they had a valid warrant. There were not one, but two SWAT teams there. Two SWAT teams.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't go into the house?
Nope.
She had access to the cameras. She could have showed them the cameras. Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is, in my opinion, is the people who should bear the financial responsibility are the individual police themselves.
Yes.
Every single one of them. Screw the department, screw the city, screw the courts,
make them carry their own insurance.
Yeah. Make them have to pay for it, make them liable, because then they will be held personally accountable for the decisions that they have personally made.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about some fun stuff. Do we want a moment of silence? We don't need a moment of silence, do we?
For what?
Wayne LaPierre resigns as NRA leader.
I think we need a moment of celebration. If I could fire off some fireworks.
Days before the start of his civil trial. Wayne LaPierre resigned as the head of the National Rifle Association on Friday, ending his decades-long reign over the prominent gun rights group days before the start of his civil trial in New York. In announcing his departure,
I gotta show this. They realized every day to not be held accountable. Why don't you just call a crackhead? Exactly. That's...
Yeah. calling a meth monkey.
calling a gambling transgender meth monkey. And they probably are pretty hard up for the cash.
Why is he dragging that naked cat?
And the cat's like, meow, comrade. Oh, it's a Russian one. Okay.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Back to seriousness. In announcing his departure, LaPierre, the organization's executive vice president, said he has been a, quote, card-carrying member of the NRA for most of his adult life, and that he would, quote, never stop supporting the NRA and its fight to defend the Second Amendment freedom.
That is a funny joke. That is a funny joke.
My passion for our cause burns as deeply as ever.
I'm sure it burns as deeply as your chlamydia, but the fact is that your cause, the NRA's cause, right? NRA doesn't stand for National Rifle Association. It stands for negotiating our rights away.
Yes. You go to VSO on YouTube. He did a really, really good video laying down how happy he was that Wayne resigned and what he needs the NRA to do to ever get his support again. And
they'll never do it. But
yeah, they'll never do it. No, it's a fun group. FPC's the hotness. Second Amendment Foundation is really fantastic. Yes.
FPC.
Yes.
Yes. You want to support the FPC if you are pro-gun and you are actually pro-gun.
Anyone who trolls Gavin Newsom with the "Your tears are delicious" gif is just fucking balls to the wall.
Oh my God. And they're like all of their lawsuit printer go burr.
Yeah. Fuck you.
And don't forget
their catchphrase on their flags, fuck you know.
Fuck you know. Yeah.
Yes.
And don't forget that the vast majority of all of the lesser gun rights organizations, right? The AR-15 Owners of America, Gun Owners of America, there's several others. All of them joined lawsuits that FPC had already filed.
GOA, Gun Owners of America.
Yeah, they all joined lawsuits that FPC had already filed. FPC did most of the legal legwork. FPC are the ones who did most of that. They certainly work together, but FPC, when it comes to actual lawsuits, actual direct legal action, that is what FPC does.
Yes.
And everyone else just leans on them to do it. So, because it's not like the NRA is ever going to, because...
Hold on, we're going to get into that. Has led the NRA for more than 30 years. Since yeah, he's 74 years old. Cited health reasons for his exit. So he's
Almost as long. He's led the NRA almost as long as a certain actor from Hollywood who pretends to be pro gun and isn't really all that pro gun has been all involved with the NRA. I'm not going to say his name, but he's in a movie that's about a Ford car.
yes. LaPierre and 3 other current and former NRA members or NRA leaders are fending off a lawsuit brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James in 2020 that alleges they violated nonprofit laws and misused millions of dollars of NRA funds to finance lavish lifestyles for themselves.
Yeah, like keep in mind, okay, so this is New York, granted, but the lawsuit isn't even like attacking the NRA, it's attacking them
Directly.
specifically because they're like, this was supposed to be a nonprofit and you took millions and millions of dollars, did absolutely nothing you said you were going to do with it, and just paid yourself.
It has been known for a long time. Wayne LaPierre rents private jets, buys $5,000 suits all the time, eats very, very, very fancy restaurants, takes lavish vacations
to the south of France and Spain and Italy. And oh, yeah.
Yep.
How many people do you know who work for nonprofits that you would think would ever be able to afford lavish vacations?
Yes. Okay. The lawsuit alleges that LaPierre diverted millions of dollars away from the group's charitable mission for his personal use of private jets, expensive meals, travel consultants, private security, and trips to the Bahamas for him and his family. The Attorney General claims LaPierre spent more than $500,000 of the NRA's assets to fly himself and family members to the Bahamas from May 2015 to April 2019. And NRA incurred over $1 million in expenses for private flights in which LaPierre was not a passenger, according to the lawsuit.
He wasn't even on the fucking plane.
LaPierre received more than $1.2 million in expense reimbursements from 2013 to 2017. The other defendants are also accused of violating nonprofit laws and internal policies as they enrich themselves, the suit says, contributing to the NRA's loss of more than $64 million in 3 years. Yes.
$64 million. More than $30 million a year.
Yes. The civil trial in Manhattan is expected to begin Monday and will last at least 6 weeks. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so Wayne LaPierre's yeah, private jets obviously is another way to his global warming summit. It's called being a good citizen. I would not be surprised if Wayne LaPierre owns a gambling monkey.
Can I just point out this lovely comment in light of recent news from Dave over at Poppins Patches?
It would not shock me if that was a different plane going to a different island. I would not be surprised.
Oh, that the NRA, I mean, and that's the thing, right? Is the NRA, and it's like remember when New York initially said they were going to go after the NRA, and like I posted that meme with the NRA logo, you know, and the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's surrender or I kill the man. Kill him. He's not our man.
Not our man. So anyway,
go for it. Like, by all means. And like so many of us, right? So many of us who support FPC and have supported FPC for years, we're members of the grassroots army and everything. When we found out that the New York Attorney General is like, we have evidence that like a bunch of the NRA leadership are embezzling all this money and blah, blah, blah. We're all like, oh, please go after them. I'm begging you.
Yes.
I'm begging you. Do you need contributions from me for the prosecution? Can I donate to that? Can I? And it's so great.
Somebody needs to make a meme for me with Wayne LaPierre crying, and we can have Cartman with like an FPC hat. Oh, your tears are delicious.
Oh, yummy, yummy. Your tears are delicious. And that's the thing, though, is like that when that happened, and like the true gun community, right? The true 2A community, we all went, yes, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it,
Yeah.
do it, do it, do it, do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's so many people that are like, "Oh my god, the NRA, blah blah," and we're like, "This is a net positive.
Yeah,
This
I
is a
see
net
no
positive.
downside.
This is net like the NRA. The NRA is the biggest, 5 million supporters. Blah blah blah. No, it has 5 million boomers.
Yep.
It has 5 million people that will say, "Oh, you can't use an AR to go hunting." Right? What do you need an AR-15 for? No hunter should need more than 3 rounds. Right? Oh, just use a shotgun.
Well, and don't forget that the NRA was not founded to be a pro-gun organization. Nope. They were founded as a training organization to train a citizen militia because America, prior to World War I, did not have a large standing army, which was a thing that the founding fathers intended.
Yes.
That was by design. And then a man you may have heard of named Woodrow Wilson, followed by a man you may have heard of, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, showed up. And, well, that whole standing army thing changed, didn't it?
Yes.
But like this...
founded in 1871 to advance rifle marksmanship.
Yep. It was for marksmanship training because we were meant to have a militia. And it was to make sure that America had a bunch of private citizens who were ready to take up arms and go to war at a moment's notice in defense of the country should that happen, that we need them. That's what it was designed for. It was never designed to be a gun rights organization, has never been a gun rights organization. It helped co-author the NFA.
Yeah.
And the GCA.
Yes.
And refused to condemn the Hughes Amendment.
Let's see.
Like the bottom line is, like, I love FPC. I mean, GOA isn't terrible. It's just remember that they don't have the kind of legal muscle that the FPC does. If you can contribute to both, you should contribute to both. If you can only contribute to one, please make it FPC. But I also know some of the guys at FPC and they're freaking awesome. But the FPC is everything that people pretend, that the anti-gun people pretend that the NRA is the FPC.
Yes.
I mean, their big thing is all of the rights all of the time. They fight for getting rid of the NFA, the GCA, getting rid of the Hughes Amendment, reopening the machine gun registry, and ideally eliminating it and selling. They just did a big thing on Twitter where somebody was like, well, if you support repealing the NFA, then you must just want machine guns available over the counter at any hardware store, the same place you buy a hammer. And they just reply with the Chad yes. And yes.
Yeah, they just made Gavin Newsom cry here in California with the new carry restriction law, right? There's a can't carry in any populated place, blah 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 blah, and they got that thrown out. So
not only did they get that thrown out, but if you read that opinion, all
feisty
concealed carry restrictions in the state of California are now dead. All of them.
Feisty. Very feisty.
Woo!
That should be.
Yeah. And where are they based? You guys know where they're based? They're based in Las Vegas.
Yes. Las Vegas. Home of the gambling monkeys. Let's see. Oh God. Dave made a meme. Okay. He says ding, your meme is ready. I think is that what you just sent on Instagram?
It may have been. I also got a message. From he did give you your meme.
Yes, that'll work, Dave. That'll work.
Somebody needs to make like one of those AI like transform your
He
photos
also,
things to
he
make people
also,
into
he also sent that one.
water that turn the freaking
He's also sent me one of Alex Smith. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water to turn the freaking chimps gay.
Oh, that's glorious.
Dave is fantastic. Poppins Patches. PoppinPatches.com.
Yes.
He just dropped a new one, or he's about to drop a new one too.
The goon. I really want the
Goon,
goon. I do really want the goon. Also I would love to see one, and as we were talking earlier, I would love to see him do one that's like a guillotine with like a, you know, more or less like a if you know, you know, something
Yes.
with a guillotine would be great. After Biden even bringing up the gallows, which is funny because it wasn't gallows, it was a fucking guillotine that they built. They put a guillotine out there. You didn't even get the execution method right.
Nope. American democracy is at stake. Come on now. Okay, we brought all that up. Former NRA executive pleads guilty to fraud, agrees to testify in New York AG trial. Yes. Former National Rifle Association Operations Director Joshua Palford has settled civil claims of fraud and abuse brought by the New York Attorney General's office. The admission comes hours after Wayne LaPierre, the executive vice president of the NRA, announced his resignation ahead of the trial scheduled to begin Monday. LaPierre cited health reasons, according to the NRA. The resignation will be effective January 31st. Powell, who was employed by the NRA from 2016 through January 2020, in that time, quote, Powell breached his fiduciary duties and failed to administer the charitable assets entrusted to his care by using his powers as an officer and senior executive of the NRA to convert charitable assets for his own benefit and for the benefit of his family members, the settlement agreement said.
And how many years were these guys in charge of the NRA?
For Josh, it was just 2016, 2015. So 5 years.
Well, but LaPierre was 30 years.
Decades. Yeah. A couple decades. Yeah.
30 years.
77.
That's a lot more than 30 years at that point.
I want to say. Quote, Josh Powell's admission of wrongdoing in Wayne LaPierre's administration confirmed that what we have alleged for years. The NRA and its senior leaders are financially corrupt.
Yeah. No. It's what every other pro-gun person who wants nothing to do with the NRA has also alleged, New York Attorney General. You are not special. You're late to the party is what you are.
Yes. Then it just goes on to talk about the Attorney General suing the NRA, which is registered in New York as a nonprofit charitable corporation, its seniors management for misappropriating millions of dollars of funds for personal benefit, including private jets, family vacation, luxury goods. The NRA tried to file for bankruptcy in 2021, but a federal judge rejected its petition, saying, quote, the NRA did not file the bankruptcy petition in good faith.
No, they did not.
Yes.
I would love to see a world where the NRA is completely bankrupt and gone and no longer exists. And all of these, this is my dream, right? I have a dream. Okay. Yes. This is my dream is that one day soon, the NRA announces that they're completely insolvent, that they have no money. They apologize. They write some bullshit farewell letter, essentially, blah, 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 and they close their doors. And the left and the anti-gun people, all the hoplophobes out there celebrate and go, woo, we won, yay, blah, blah, blah.
All right,
then all of the NRA members suddenly discover FPC.
Yes.
And they go, woohoo, we won. We can pass all these horrible anti-Second Amendment laws now. And then lawsuit printer go burr.
It's like that meme where like there's a person and then behind it there's like another person and behind it there's a bigger person and behind that there's a bigger person and then behind that there's like a gigantic person that has like this humongous clutchel, right? Or cudgel, right, for a dick. And it's like that's what happens. If the NRA goes away, that's what happens.
Yeah. Because then they're going to set their sights on like GOA, or they're going to set their sights on AR-15 Owners America, or
Yeah.
they're going to set their sights on that. And meanwhile, FPC is just going to be going, and you get a lawsuit, and you get a lawsuit, and you get, everyone gets lawsuits.
Oh,
The thing is like, having interacted with the FPC multiple times, right, and talked to them and begged them for a job, because I really want to work for them in the worst damn way. These guys are like truly freedom loving,
yes.
truly pro gun, absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Mm-hmm. Very based.
So based, and
Very,
just
very, very grounded. Very intelligent in their defense. Also, not just like in the edgy, mimi, bully way, right?
yeah.
They're very, very grounded and have a very, very strong grip, a very strong hold on what they are advocating for, and they understand it explicitly. It's incredible.
They know what they know. They know what the truth is. They know what they stand for, and they're unapologetic about it. And it is fantastic.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
I've seen them interact on Twitter with Navi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to put in perspective how pro gun these motherfuckers are, they have happily interacted on Twitter with Navi.
They offered, I believe they offered, or maybe they just expressed support, but I believe they offered to represent Hunter Biden in his gun case, right? Which the whole drug usage while owning a firearm being unconstitutional.
Yeah, and they'll file an amicus brief if he doesn't take them up. They'll still file a brief.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're
just like, yes.
Yeah, they are awesome. They are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know who Navi is, write down his name and flip it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you'll figure it out.
I've seen him do print, shoot, repeat. A couple of those other guys.
Well, again, Navi.
You see do you see the new 3D printed hotness that's making the rounds?
Oh yeah, the set me?
The hand crank.
Oh, that one I haven't seen. I did see the set me, because the set me has been the set me / HK was it G3 is going around, because a whole bunch of people are like, oh, 3D printed guns will just blow up in your hand and then they posted a bunch of stuff. They're like, oh, well, those are ARs. What about if they actually needed a pressure bearing surface and like wear and tear on the receiver? So they 3D printed a shit ton of set me's and G3s. And somebody who is part of that has worked on and is perfecting a FAL, which I am very, very excited about. What kind of 3D printing?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, hey, breaking news, by the way. We had an earthquake.
Okay.
Terrifying one. It was a 2.5.
That doesn't even make the news here in California.
Well, in Wisconsin, if it tips over a lawn chair, we go, oh, we will rebuild it.
Oh, don't you know?
Oh, yeah. There was an earthquake. I go back to eating our cheese, drinking our beer, and enjoying our bratwurst.
Yes.
Honestly, at 2.5, was it an earthquake or was there a Badger game? It's hard to say.
No Badger game. They did not make the championship.
Yeah, unfortunately. But if you've ever been to a Badger game at Camp Randall, you understand what I mean about the was it a Badger game, because it registers on the Richter scale.
Yeah, the two that are playing in the championship game, they have are two of the largest stadiums in college football. Washington and Michigan. I think Michigan Wolverine
Michigan?
Stadium's like 110,000 people or something like that.
Wolverines was my grandfather's alma mater, so I got them and Notre Dame. So I got to kind of root for them both, but
yes,
still,
I'm okay with that.
Go Badgers!
I can't find that video to show you now.
Anyone who's a college football fan who has not gone to a Badgers game at Camp Randall is missing out.
Yes.
Because the fifth quarter is an experience.
Yep. So, you got anything else you want to talk about? Let's do this. Let's do a prediction for 2024.
Oh God, a prediction for 2024.
Give me one prediction for 2024.
One prediction for 2024.
Is American democracy at stake?
Absolutely not, because there's no such thing. That's an easy one. America is not a democracy and has never been. And no, stop trying to make American democracy happen. American democracy isn't going to happen. I don't care how fetch American democracy is. Okay. But
Jack predicts he'll have a birthday.
Bold prediction.
Yeah.
Especially
Jason will be forced out of California. God, I hope so.
Hey, if I can get kicked out of a state by court order, you can get kicked out of a state by court order. You just have to believe in yourself.
I just have to be a threat to democracy.
I mean, that probably played in slightly. But anyway, my prediction for 2024, honestly, is that we are going to see, because it is an election year, my big prediction is that we're going to see a candidate come from nowhere who is going to get almost big enough to get on the national stage,
Vivek,
and then fall short.
His name is Valak?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I've seen some of what he said, and I'm like, yeah, woo! But
I mean, most of Europe has Indian leaders now,
including Ireland. Don't remind me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but hey, speaking of predictions for 2024,
make fires great again.
Speaking of predictions for 2024, okay, way back in the 1980s, there was an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It was banned in the UK for an extended period of time. It took almost 15 years before they would air it. It's about terrorism, and in it, Commander Data looks at Jean-Luc Picard and says, but occasionally terrorism did work.
Yes.
And he mentions the Irish reunification of 2024.
Oh, yes. Go Ireland.
So now
Ireland,
also keep in mind,
Ireland for the Irish.
Keep in mind 2024 is a really, really big year for Star Trek, because it's also the years of those riots that they always talk about, and these camps getting created, and the beginning of World War III. So
if
that was Star Trek's prediction.
If Ireland reunifies and does what it needs to do, will you let me move to Ireland?
If Ireland reunifies, I may move back to Ireland.
Yes.
But oh boy.
They've got some work to do.
It is. There's some spicy times ahead for the Emerald Isle. Let me tell you.
There's spicy times ahead for everyone.
Oh yeah. But for 2024, my big prediction is that we are going to see the ideal presidential candidate that so many people are like, yes, this is what we've been waiting for. He's going to have huge amounts of support. He's going to come from nowhere. And at the last minute, everything's going to fall apart for him. Therefore, further reinforcing the presidential elections are farcical. and that
Yes.
there is nothing free about American elections.
Yep. Just American democracy is at stake, Andrew. Without American democracy, who will give meth to monkeys?
Who would give meth to the casino monkeys without American democracy?
The transgender
To the casino monkeys.
The transgender gambling meth addicted monkeys. Woo! There's a libertarian somewhere that is just sweating. All right, give us some links. Let's get out of here.
Oh, we are sponsored by some of your favorite companies. I know they are. Check out Dave at poppinspatches.com. He has all sorts of cool patches, including the one we just mentioned, the Goon patch, which is super awesome. I'm probably going to order it. There's also
Flannel Daddy patch also.
Yeah, he's got the new Flannel Daddy patch. He's got all sorts of fun ones. You definitely want to check it out. Tons of nostalgia, tons of great stuff. Check it out. Also, we are sponsored by Reaper Brand Apparel. Check them out. Super great brand, super great message. If you're not following them on Instagram to keep getting the daily videos for inspiration and things and about drive and whatnot, check them out. Reaper Brand Apparel, super glad to be affiliated with them. We're also affiliated with, which way? It's mirrored. Okay, there we go. Also, make sure that you check out Lions, Not Sheep. They also sponsor us. We also have an affiliate link, and they are super great. I really liked their Free Man t-shirt. They have all sorts of other ones, including Radical Change Requires Radical Change, another one that I got for myself. They have all sorts of cool stuff. Also very, very awesome and a very excellent moral. Be a lion, not a sheep. We're also sponsored by just a shit ton of other people. Coffee Brand Coffee from the Quartering. Jeremy, the Quartering Coffee Brand Coffee. Check it out. Again, Linktree. Check out our Linktree. There's so many links. There's so many discounts out there. There's so many cool companies for you to check out through there, and affiliates and all sorts of cool stuff. People who've done us a solid, so do them a solid so that they keep doing us a solid, because I really like free shit, and the more you guys do stuff for them, the more they do for us.
Yep. On that Lions Not Sheep, we'll close the show on this one. It's there's a quote from Norman Vincent Peale. He says once Americans roared like liberty for lions, now they bleat like sheep for security. The answer to America's problems lies not in big government, but in big men who nobody stands over control but God. On that note,
we're an affiliate.
We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.